emails. This is actually an email that came from the guy who called earlier. I forget what his name was. Like Twofer, I think.
Twofer Man.
Yeah, Twofer Man. I'm sorry, you're going to have to forgive us. I think this was you. I think you would, but let's just assume that it's not, in case I'm wrong. Somebody wrote, this is to me and Libby, who was the host on the very first episode. Are you serious? You seem to suggest that without Dawkins, etc., that atheists are boring, sad, inept debaters. Now with Harris and Dennett, you may have a point. Actually, I disagree. I think Harris is actually the best of the debaters. Do you think that Catholic theologians have a special debating powers atheists can't resist? I'd be willing to send Thunderfoot of YouTube fame or ACA's Matt Dillahunty for openers. Basically, I think that there was a misunderstanding. I didn't say that atheists outside of these famous two are inept debaters or sad or boring. I'd say exactly the opposite, especially people like Matt Dillahunty and Thunderfoot. But those are exactly the sort of people that aren't what the Catholic Church wants to debate when they open up and say, we want to open a channel with atheists. In fact, those are the exact opposite of the sort of people they have. They want sad, inept, and boring. They want somebody who goes in front of a camera and says, oh, I wish I had your faith. I'm so sad. You know, I have this sad, meaningless life because I don't have Jesus the way you do. I wish I could believe.
That and I have a sneaking suspicion that Matt Dillahunty and Thunderfoot might be turned down.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're in the media and they debate atheism and they know what they're doing. So
yeah, that's the last thing they want.
We don't know the standard. I mean, do we count? We're new.
Yeah, we're new, but I think that I would say that they would say no to us too, simply because we're not going to immediately make this sort of concession. That this is a Harlem Globetrotters game with these guys. That they want to have somebody that they can look good against. And I made the comparison to what's his name? You know, Sean Hannity's token liberal Alan Combs last week, and I think that that's what they want. So anyways, we should probably just get on to the show topic at this point. This is something that I've been thinking about, and I actually did get an email about this earlier, that in the very first episode, I asked the question, what the hell are you watching? Why is there an atheist show on your TV? We defined atheism, but we never really got around to answering that question, and I think it's really important. That I think people just don't understand why we feel the need to have a show. And I think it's important that we talk about that a bit.
Yeah, and I thought I might start with a bit of a personal anecdote. I've been an atheist for about 10 years, but I've only been, I guess, an activist about it in the community, talking to other atheists for 3 of those years. And that happened, I can tell you the exact date, and it's May 9th, 2007. And that was when Nightline had Face Off, Does God Exist? With the cast of the cartoon show, Way of the Master, and then from some folks I'd never heard of before called the Rational Response Squad, which at the time was Brian Sapient and Kelly. And the whole purpose of the show was that they were going to prove the existence of God without referring to the Bible. Well, that's what they said, except until the day before when they said, oh, never mind, we're going to mention the Bible. So it turned into an opportunity for them to evangelize on a televised stage. It was all a setup. So Ray Comfort got up there and did his insulting people into Christianity evangelical shtick, which I honestly will never understand. He sat down, then Brian Sapient came up and did his bit, and they sat down. They went back and forth. And if you're an atheist, you've probably seen it. And I thought the Rational Response Squad, my side, won the debate. Except I really didn't like the way they did it. I thought they sort of angrily Tony Orlando and Dawn their way across the pulpit and just sort of made us look a lot more mean. Now, there are things I know about that show now that I didn't know then. And I don't bear them any ill will. I think they did a good job with what they had. I said pulpit specifically because this debate, does God exist, happened at a church, really. And, you know, so, but the thing is if that's going to be our voice on the media, I can't have that. And that was the day that I said, okay, I'm going to be an activist, and activism. And the thing about being an activist is a lot like saying you're going to be an astronaut. You know, okay, I'm going to be an astronaut now. But that's sort of divorced from the whole concept of becoming an astronaut. You can't just say that you're going to be an astronaut. You actually have to make it into space. And to be an activist, you need to go out and talk to people or join an organization. And I didn't know how to do that, so I sat on it for a year. And it took me moving here to Washington and meeting the Seattle Atheist people in order to make that happen. And I was making friends. I was having a really good time talking to people. And eventually, they said, Sam, you know, we think you're doing a good job. Could you help us out, run for the board? I thought, okay, finally, a perfect opportunity for me to make my statement. And I said, let's not be jerks. No more jerk atheism. Let's go out there and be positive. And everybody's like, yes, positivism. Let's go out there and be nice and have fun. And I ran unopposed, so I won. And it was fantastic, let me tell you. And a bit of an ego boost, except for the whole running unopposed thing. And then, so we started as a group. I mean, I said that was my platform, but it ended up kind of being everybody else's platform, too. And we said, we started working positively. And then we started looking, I said, well, what's our competition? Let's find the jerk atheists. And I looked around, and I looked pretty hard. And I couldn't find any. And, and that was a thing to me, and I realized that I thought this way about atheism because I bought a line. I bought a line based off of two things, jackasses on the internet and the media. Because the way people see atheism is, as Mike says here, is a meta-analysis of 8 different atheism personalities. And it's not even the personalities themselves. You get these people up close, you watch them in debate, they're really nice people. But everybody sees that 30-second soundbite of him making a good point, and we all look like completely antisocial.
But even that, I found that, like, I have a friend who's a liberal Christian, and he used to have a really negative opinion of Richard Dawkins. Oh, he's so angry. And like that mention of, oh, I just saw him on South Park, that was also the way primarily he saw that. But then when he actually watched videos of Dawkins talking, he was like, wow, this guy isn't angry at all. He's actually pretty mellow and nice. And his opinion changed. Well, my friend is still a theist, but he loves hearing Richard Dawkins talk about science. And I think it's really important to mention that it is that meta-analysis. And I think a lot of people do the same thing with God, where it's not so much that they read the Bible themselves, they just take their pastor's word for it.
And the thing is things happened during my tenure on the board that I disagreed with, and we actually did a press release. Like, for example, I'm sure a lot of you remember the holiday sign in Olympia in 2000. It was 2008, I believe. 2008. And I don't remember the exact wording, but it was kind of like, "Happy Holidays, religious people are kind of dopey."
Well, it was about how religion hardens hearts and
That's it.
mind. I have no problem with the statement of the sign. There's nothing I disagree with. I just think it was such a bad venue to do it.
I actually didn't really care for the statement myself, and I thought it was kind of jerky. And I had some little enmity. And then I actually started meeting people from the organization that did it, that did the sign, the FFRF. And a lot of them were like, yeah, that ended up being kind of more jerky than we thought, and it didn't work out right. It certainly got the press in, though. And I'm like, yeah, okay, good point there. And their message has evolved since. And to the point where their bus ads running in Chicago right now, which I think is just Sleep In Sunday or something like that.
Yeah.
It's really simple. It really makes the point, and it's backed up with something we're doing here in Seattle, where the inside they have quotes from atheists or prominent freethinkers. And I just can't find this new atheism movement that people are talking about. And to me, it seems like it's only new atheism because we're saying things now, where before we were quiet.
Yeah.
And that leads directly into really the platform of this TV show, sort of the reason we're doing it, which is the fact that, I don't know what you take it away from here, is the fact that we've got no voice in the media.
That's true. I find that it's absolutely true that there isn't a lot of atheist-themed programming on television, radio, or anywhere else. I mean, although you could say that, like, say, Real Time with Bill Maher or Penn and Teller's Bullshit are both shows that have an atheist bent, and then they occasionally do an episode on religion. Well, if you look at Bill Maher's show, it's primarily a liberal political show, and Penn and Teller are primarily a libertarian-leaning skeptic show. In fact, most of the atheist media that you're going to see, period, are going to be in one of two places. One is bookstores, where you're going to see books by Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, and others. And the main one is the Internet. And I think the caller we had earlier made a big allusion to this. I'd go as far as saying that over 90% of atheist media is on the Internet. And there are plenty of great websites out there, things like Atheist Nexus, Richard Dawkins Foundation, the Reason Project, or Project Reason, Pharyngula.